Welcome to the Music Nut Program. I'm John. Thank you so much for joining me today. And welcome back to the latest edition of the Live Cut. Today, we will be discussing an album that very few people know about. In fact, if it wasn't for my distinguished guest next to me, I would not know this album was released either. This album is Rick Danko and Richard Manuel, who are best known as being members of the band, live at O'Toole's Tavern, Scranton, Pennsylvania. My guest here who introduced me to the album, you should know him very well. We met on the Contrarians, even though we grew up less than an hour apart. Nick S Squire, welcome to my show.
Hey, John, thanks for having me. I love your channel. It's great.
Thank you so much, Nick. I really appreciate it. So, we're going to be talking about an album that was recorded at O'Toole's Tavern in Scranton, Pennsylvania. And this was recorded on December 13, 1985. This was the second show of the evening. This was released on July 21, 2009. Neither one of us, well, I certainly don't have a CD copy of this. This was the second show of the evening. Nick, you grew up near Old Toole's Tavern. I only had heard of it. Tell us about Old Toole's Tavern. And
Yeah, I was saying grow up near it. I didn't grow up like in it. I didn't
right,
grow
right.
up a block away. Actually, I knew somebody who grew up about a block away. I knew a family about a block away. But O'Toole's was a bar that was in the orbit of the University of Scranton. So it was really like a college bar. And it was on Mulberry Street in what they call the hill section of Scranton.
Okay.
I grew up about 6, 7 miles away in a small town, but I got to know O'Toole's underage in the late '80s after this gig, which was in '85. So I was at the University of Scranton from '87 to '91. And what I can tell you about my recollection of O'Toole's is that it was tiny. It was like a shoebox.
Right.
I cannot believe that they would have had Danko and Manuel at this location in this bar. I just can't see it. I can't imagine that they could fit even 100 people in here. It was like a U-shaped bar. Um, there was no stage that I remember. There was like a foosball table, maybe two of them. And it was the kind of place where you went in and had a beer out of a plastic cup.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So it was fun. There may have been a DJ there a time or two when I was there, but um, and as far as university bars go, there was a few others. It probably wasn't number one on my list, but I was there underage in various ways. But um, the fact that they would have had, international artists like these two just blows my mind. I to this day cannot get my head around that fact. Fun fact, I don't know what happened to O'Toole's. I don't know if it was a fire. I don't know what the story was, but the last few times I visited that area, O'Toole's has been an empty lot, just grass, nothing there. I'd like to know what happened. I hope that people from that part of the world will see this video and chime in if they know what happened, because I'd love to know. But I had a lot of good times there. It blows me away. When you hear the album and we'll get into it, you can hear that it is not a cast of thousands. It might be a
Mm-mm.
cast of 50 or so or
Right.
100. And it's just one of those places that you just can't believe that they would have had these artists there. So anyway, but that's O'Toole's.
Do you, did you ever see any live music there when you were going there?
Oh no, I don't remember. If there was a band there, I'm like I said, I have a vague recollection they may have had a DJ, like there was room for a DJ. But it was all those things. I'll tell you what, when you walked in, you'd see one part of the U, and then it went across, and then the other part. And there wasn't a lot of room. I mean, you couldn't go
Okay.
like five deep. It was like three deep. I can't even figure out where they would have set up these two. Okay. And that's the thing when we get into this. This is an album that it wasn't a band. It was just the two of them. It was a duo. And you can hear people speaking in the crowd. These guys
Yep.
are talking to people in the crowd. It's a very intimate performance. It was like the kind of thing that you go to that corner bar and there's a solo performer or a duo, and they're playing your favorite cover songs or something. Like that's the kind of vibe that this album strikes as. But it was just a small, small, small place, really tiny.
Gotcha. When did you get into the band's music?
Oh, that's a great question. The band is not an easy. It's one of those. It's one of those groups that, as a teenager who was like a metalhead, hard rock guy, Led Zeppelin, Kiss, Cheap Trick, BOC, Humble Pie. The band is to me a pretty sophisticated sound, even in their simplicity. I didn't get into the band in earnest until the CD age. I didn't have any of their vinyl. It was one of those groups where I heard them on the radio quite a bit. We grew up with classic rock and Rock 107. I would hear, all the standard band hits. I didn't dislike them. I just never gravitated towards their music. And I'd like to say that somewhere along the line, maybe 20 some years ago, I finally picked up, probably used somewhere, just the greatest hits on
Gotcha.
CD. And I just love this, even though, it's somewhat disjointed because it's their hits. I just love, 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 love this album. And then because of my interest in other bands, primarily two, Humble Pie and Spooky Tooth, both bands were really influenced by music from the Big Pink.
Gotcha.
And because of their fondness for that album, and then I'd hear later on that, Paul McCartney loved that album and others. I got this and I really, really, really enjoyed it. I know this is dated 2000, so it would make sense that I probably got into this somewhere around before 2005. But that's how I got into the band. And since then, like I've been picking up, I got the box set. I have stuff here and there. I'm not a mega fan. I'm more of a student of the band. Everything I hear from them, I enjoy. I like. I kind of approach them maybe with reverence. I didn't just go out and buy everything all at once, but I like them, and they're such an influential band, and I can see why, and I can see how they influenced the rock scene from like that late 60s, early 70s period. They're a pretty important band. So how about you? When did you get into them?
Okay. I heard them on Rock 107.
Yeah.
I bought the cassette Best of the Band.
Hmm.
I liked the songs. I didn't like the singing at all,
Right. Right.
but there was something in it. There was something about them I found interesting. On Rock 107, there was a series of songs they'd play in regular rotation. And I liked some. I didn't like them all. I wasn't into the weight.
Okay.
I
Hmm.
despise Chest Fever because I just didn't
Mm.
like the way they sounded together, although musically I thought it was a cool tune. But I like songs like Shape I'm In
Hmm.
and The Night They Drove Old Dixie Down, I liked quite a bit. But a lot of the other songs, I just needed time. And
Right.
I revisit them in my early 30s.
Hmm.
And by then, there's shortening those wonderful playlists that we had on Rock 107.
Hmm.
And I was working with a good friend of mine who was a guitar player. Hello, Wayne Drager. I hope you're well. And he loved the band. So
Okay.
between what little I knew about them and what Wayne knew about them, I got back into their music again. And after that, I started buying all their stuff on CD. And by that point, they were putting out the CDs and they were putting on a lot of bonus tracks.
Right.
In fact, I believe the two CD version of the Brown album, the second album, has
Right.
rough mixes of their set from Woodstock on it.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
also not long after this, I was going to pubs and
Yeah.
and we know the movie The Last Waltz. Well, that was a
Right.
movie that I knew it. I never saw it. I was talking to a friend at the bar once about it. He goes, "Dude, you've never seen The Last Waltz." No. You go out this weekend, you buy it. You
Hmm.
go buy it on DVD, whatever you have to do, you go buy it, which I did.
Hmm.
And I loved it. And I've loved it ever since. And that also got me even deeper into their music. So at this point, like I have the first five albums on CD. I have The Last Waltz on vinyl, the three record
Hmm.
set that was re-released. as well as Before the Flood, which is the band and Bob Dylan. Thank you, Mom, for giving me those record sets for Christmas.
Wow.
Yeah, different Christmases, by the way.
Yeah, right, right.
That's how much I know about the band. I know some of the solo stuff. Like
Hmm.
I know what Robbie Robertson would go on to do and Leave on Hand,
Right,
to a lesser extent, Rick Danko and Garth.
right.
So that's my knowledge of the band. But it took me a while before I really appreciated their music.
You just reminded me of something. Over 20 years ago, before Katrina, I visited New Orleans and Levon had a club down there. He opened a club in the outside, just right on the edge of the French Quarter. And it was sort of when I was learning about the band, I'm like, oh, and he was supposed to maybe be there that weekend, but he was having, if you remember, he always had health problems. Like he
Yeah.
was really, and I don't know where he was. I don't know if he was in New York at the time and didn't make it down, but he didn't make it. However, it was just it made an impression on me because I liked the club. He had a little person working the door, which was kind of a gimmick, but it was kind of silly. And I did get to see Irma Thomas, who is just a phenomenal performer. She's still out there actually and
Nice.
recording, I believe. But I got to see her, and she was a smoking performance. But that was one thing I remember. And then the other thing, if you remember, then Levon Howell started having those midnight rambles
Yes.
at his place in Woodstock, and I kept hearing about people going up there and having a great time, and you got to get up there and the whole thing, and I guess you go up there and he maybe he didn't know who was on the bill. It was like a surprise. And I was sort of thinking about making plans to get up there, but then it never happened. I just never did it. But that was other things that sort of like pushed me in the direction of their music, only because Levon Helm's like not too far away and he's having these midnight rambles, blah blah blah. So those are really cool things that kind of like have marked for me at least a moment in time when I'm like, yeah, I like this band. And Last Waltz, Danko plays a Brown Burst Gibson Ripper, which I love. I play a Gibson G3, so it's like a cousin of the Ripper, and I love that sound that he gets out of that bass. So they look alike, a little different headstock, but anyway, that's another thing. I always like Danko's bass. So yeah, and he's a great. I like not only like his bass playing, but I actually like his off kilter vocals too.
And that was something I really had to grow into with Rick
Yeah,
Danko's vocals, especially that third verse on the song "The Wait." I was like, "What the
yeah.
heck? What's this voice?" You know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, and that's why too, I was trying to make that point earlier. It's like, if you come from listening to hair metal and Zeppelin,
right,
the band is a heavy lift for you vocally. But once you get it, and I think with that comes maturity,
yes,
now it's like, oh, I get it. I get that earthiness, I get that rawness, I get that approach. It actually makes a lot of sense to me now.
right, exactly. Bobby Shappert was my friend at Dugan's Pub who said, "Dude, get The Last Waltz on DVD." So, Bobby, thank you, Bobby.
It's his fault.
It's his fault.
Yeah.
Yes. So, let's go over the tracks on the album. This was just Rick and Richard. Rick plays bass, some guitar, lead vocals. He handles probably a little more than half of the lead vocals,
Yeah.
and Richard Manuel is handling the rest of the vocals. He's playing electric piano and he's chiming in on the harmonies as Rick is doing with Richard as well. So just under 50 minutes. This was the second set of that evening. So, Nick, let's go through the tracks.
Well, think about it. They played two sets that night. It's like again, it's like going to see somebody down at the corner bar, a duo or
Right.
or a solo person. It's absurd.
Hmm.
This album. It's very interesting. And it grows on you because it's very imperfect. It's very raw. It's sparse.
Yes.
It is all those things. Um, and so you get the impression that you're there with listening in that crowd, and so it grows on you. That's why I like it. And so there are Manuel's vocals are ragged. It's not prime Manuel, but he means it, which I like too.
Yes.
And there's something to be said for somebody who means it and they're trying. So It's an imperfect album. When you listen to, just before we get into the songs, like there's a lot of problems with their sound. Mics are feeding back after every song. He's like, less is more. Roll off the bass. He's wrong, and I think that's the bass on his keyboard actually. Um, I liked hearing that though because he is right. Less is more. Actually, get a better sound. So it's a really cool raw thing. And you may have mentioned it, but my understanding is that this album began life as a widely circulated bootleg. And it was bootleg so much that somebody got the idea, and hopefully Manuel and Danko's family benefit from this, but they
Yes.
then decided to make it an official release. But it was a widely bootleg thing. So they're like, okay, let's just take this and make it official. So that's kind of a neat thing, but it's a very raw recording. If you like finer stuff, this is probably not your cup of tea, but that's what draws me into it. It makes me interested in this, the warts and all, if you will. You know what I mean?
Right. Exactly.
So,
I agree.
and to talk about it in the larger picture, there's all this banter between those two in the crowd. It's fantastic. You would never get that in a live album nowadays. That would all be sliced out, edited out, the whole thing. This is not AI and this is not auto-tune. You like auto-tune and AI and you like the perfect albums. No, this is the exact opposite, which is why I like it, and that's why I find it an interesting thing. I was thinking about it and thinking about notes here. It's almost like being invited to, I know artists do this nowadays, like a house party. Like
Okay.
someone's gonna have a house party, and then these two are sitting there playing, right?
Hmm.
Or it could even be in someone's basement. I'm like, holy crap! Did you know? Before and again, before we get into songs, did you know I found this on the algorithm that earlier in '85 they had a band, these guys, and there was a harmonica player, et cetera, et cetera. So there was more of a drummer professional performance, and there's something released out there, another Manuel Danko album. I've got the name somewhere, I'll find it, but they did a gig up in New York, and it's good, and I kind of zipped through it. I don't know it as well as this one, but this one is really just that it cuts right to the core, and it's that sparseness that I like. So there's that stuff out there from '85 in this time period, and then there's this, so kind of neat.
Yes, and I actually looked it up. It's under
uh
Richard Manuel's name. It's called Whispering Pines live at the Gateway. I believe it was
okay.
recorded in Saugerties, New York. And it was a Richard Manuel solo gig, but there were a lot of guests coming out of the crowd, most notably Rick Danko.
That's another album. This is the one. This is the one I'm referring to. It's called Live at the Horseman Saloon,
Okay.
and it's in New York. It's a two CD set, 20 some songs on it with the
Okay.
band. So it's, yeah, I think it's a different recording.
Oh,
So
okay.
and it's under Manuel and Danko, and it was March of '85. March of '85 with the full band. So I don't know what that's. Do you know the date on the Saugerties thing?
I know it's 85. I don't know the
Okay.
specific month.
Okay. Hey, before we get I'm gonna keep taking detours. We're not even at the album yet. Let me give you one anecdote. Fact. In around this time period, Manuel and Danko were tapped to open for Steve Marriott and the Pack of the Three at the Silo in Reading.
Oh, yeah?
Now, yeah, I think the date, I hope someone watches from the Reading area. I think it was in April, and I think they may have had the band. It wasn't just the two of them as a duo, but they played. I know from my old band leader who was friends with Marriott and who was interviewing him at that gig. Here's the anecdote. You can tell that, and we know that Manuel and Danko had some personal demons, and they like to,
Right.
who God knows what they like to do, but whatever. Let's say at least drink. But at that show, at the Silo show opening for Marriott, they were trying to find Marriott to hang out and God knows, consume God knows what. Marriott felt that they were way over the top and was trying to avoid them. So he
Wow.
was he was trying to avoid them at all costs and stay away from them, which is saying a lot because he was no lightweight. He
Exactly.
was famous for everything, and as we know, he was not easy to take. Life of the party, he was the life of the party, and they were too much. So
Right.
as an anecdote, these guys were something. So, and you could tell they're having a really good time at this gig and they had fun. Not to the point where they seem obliterated or
Right.
oblivious to things. They're professional. But I just wanted to throw that in there because they were too much for Steve Marriott, and that's saying something. So
That's awesome.
anyway. Hey, as an overview, did you notice like they announced the these two? They come on stage and immediately, and you're a man of a certain age. Did it remind you of anything when Danko started speaking to the crowd?
No, but
His
it
voice
might
sounds
just.
like Tommy Chong. It was like Cheech and Chong. His voice, he sounds just like Tommy Chong speaking. So
Oh,
it's like
okay.
if you like Tommy Chong, holy crap! It was like a Cheech and Chong album. But when he speaks, that immediately hit me. But anyway. All right. Well, yeah. Hey, go for it. You want to talk about the songs? Go ahead. We'll give a quick overview or whatever you want to do.
Okay, I'll go first. I'm cool with it.
Yeah.
All right. So, as Nick alluded to, it's very loose, very intimate. We have the intro, and they're introduced on the stage as the second show of the evening. Would there have been 50 or 100 people there? Yeah, that's what it sounds like. I mean, you hear, people are enthusiastic, but there's few of them. CC Rider is the first proper song. CC Rider's been covered by many, many artists, most notably the Animals took it to the top 10 in the mid 60s,
Right. Yeah, that's right.
as as did Mitch Ryder and the Detroit Wheels as
Mm-hmm.
part of a twofer with Jenny Take a Ride.
Mm-hmm.
While they made it more lively, they're sticking with the more blues feel of the original that was written in 1924. It's well played. It's a little sloppy. You feel that from time to time. Like there's one part on here. It sounds like Richard Manuel, he's not keeping the beat perfectly, but then fixes that on his own. It's a cool version. Then we go into a version of Lionel Richie's My Love from his
Which
self,
is insane. That's
which is
just insane. I got
insane.
to. I mean, I knew that I'm listening to the song. I know this song, and I did a little thing. I'm like, it's Lionel Richie from just a few years earlier.
Yeah,
Anyway,
81 or 82 rather.
yeah,
And at this point, it's a cool version. At this point, their voices are weathered. So
hmm.
don't expect Lionel Richie here. It's
Oh
not
no,
that kind of elegance.
no,
But it's a cool version, and I do like when Richard comes in with those high harmonies in the chorus. It works. Then we get a version of, and from here we're hitting a lot of songs by the band. We have Whistle Stop,
yeah,
what's written on the album, but it's actually just another whistle stop from Stage Fright. This, I think, is one of the highlights of the album. This is a great version, and I think it's even more lively
yeah,
than than the original version. I think Richard Manuel sounds great on the little
yeah.
bit grittier version because you don't have as much instrumentation going on.
That's right.
Yeah, so this is very, very good. The Unfaithful Servant. This is Rick Danko on the lead vocal. This was originally on the Brown album or the self-titled second album. This one I think works very well also. And this is where I really start to hear feedback on the vocals. I mean, a little bit, not to the
Yeah.
point where it's distracting, but you can pick it up here. You see,
I gotta say that song, I think that his vocals are very ambitious, and
mm,
it's just an ambitious song, the way it's almost like a jazz approach, the high and low. And I think it comes across really well. For me, it's like the highlight of his vocals on this album. So I thought that was a really inspired choice. So I thought it was, and the crowd reaction at the end tells you that they were really feeling it as well too, because that might have been one of the best crowd reactions of the evening. But anyway,
I would agree with that. Next is a song called She Knows. This was written by J.A. Griffin and Rob Royer. I never heard this song until
yeah,
listening to this album. It's also on a posthumous live album, Whispering Pines Live at the Gateway, that we were just talking about earlier. Very
yeah,
emotional track
yeah,
here.
yeah,
This is a very strong track. And right around this time, I think was when there was some banter in between the audience and the crowd, and one of the
Mhm.
more memorable lines, "We don't work, we just play hard."
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I agree that his vocal is ragged, but it's really earnest. And
Yes,
so you get credit for that. It's like if I was hearing that in the crowd, I'd be like, "Oh, this is a good one." So I didn't know the song either. I thought it was a very strong track. So yeah.
absolutely. Honest I Do is a Jimmy Reed song. I listened to the Jimmy Reed version.
Oh
This
yeah.
Jimmy Reed's was this is like a looser, a
Hmm.
little bit faster version of the Jimmy Reed song. The piano is what's really driving on here,
Yep.
driving the rhythm, and we get a short grinding guitar solo from Rick on it as
Uh,
well.
yeah, that's a good way to put it. Grinding. I said it was
Yeah,
primitive because holy shit, that's like if you asked me to do a guitar solo and I
right,
play
right.
bass. It was rough. I love Jimmy Reed. I'm a big Jimmy Reed fan. It's like these guys are playing their influences, the CC Rider, etc. And Jimmy Reed makes perfect sense for these guys. You know, yeah, he's influenced all those artists. But I thought it was an inspired choice and a great song to play.
Nice. We get a version of King Harvest Has Surely Come from the self-titled second album. I think this is heavier into the R&B and a little more soulful.
Yeah,
The track hits hard in its original version, but I think this version
yep,
hits a little harder because of the much more barren
yep,
accompaniment on it.
yep. You know what's amazing about this song? Even though it's a duo and even though it's sparse, this track, it's weird. The sound they make is bigger than two guys.
Yes,
So that's the thing that I was like, it hit me, go like, holy crap, there's just two guys playing this. It's almost like all I needed was a drum and it
right,
felt like a full band. But between it was the falsetto, the talking vocal, he's got it bounces along. And I thought it was I was like, there's two guys playing this. Like, holy crap, it sounds like it could be four or five,
right.
so that's why it was a great version. And you know what? That song's in their DNA.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So they could play that in their sleep and they just know it and there's like muscle memory and it's just fantastic. So yeah, that was a good one too. Album highlight.
Now, then we go into It Makes No Difference, which is one of Rick Danko's standout tracks, one of his more emotional vocals. This was originally on
Yeah.
Northern Lights, Southern Cross. Personally, this is one of my three favorite songs by the band.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, here I this is where I think you hear Rick's voice, although he's trying, it
Hmm.
definitely sounds more weathered here. The harmonies are decent,
Hmm.
but I don't think it just has that elegance that you had on the original.
Yeah, this is guys second set of the night version.
Yes.
So, you're right because the original is a very regal sound. Um, I like this version. But I hear what you're saying, and if you're expecting that original version and all its elegance, it's not it. But
Right.
for what it is, I thought it was pretty good. You got the piano and guitar. It's another rough solo. I made a note: rough solo,
Yes.
rough. But all right, again, it's the whole thing. Like they mean it. You know what I mean? Like they're
Exactly.
so.
The next track is Banter. It's just the band bullshitting with the crowd. Now,
Tommy Chong
there we
talking with the
go.
crowd.
Another line. Now, I don't know if this was during the banter. I don't think this was during the banter part of the set, but I
Hmm.
wrote this down.
Hmm.
They said, "Hey, it's either come here and see you folks or we go to a shrink."
Go to a shrink. That's right. Right. Exactly. Yeah, that might have been during the banter, but no, it was a good line. Yeah, they were having fun, these guys. So it was good. It was good to see that.
Absolutely. Then we go into Chest Fever, a song which took a long time for me to grow on, to grow on me
Mhm.
rather, and I love it. Now, this is very different when you compare it, the same rhythm, but you don't have those big grandiose keyboards from Garth
Right.
Hudson.
Yeah, the
Like you,
B3 stuff, right.
yeah. But what's interesting though is Richard is playing it more spirited. He's playing it more rhythmic
Yeah,
than he did in the band. But that's because you have a twofer. You want to liven it up because you have to. The bass, I think, really complements the piano very well.
yeah,
The vocal breakdown, which you had in the original, and it kind of has that New Orleans feel. Here they keep it more rhythmic because
yeah,
I think it works better when you do it that way if you're playing in front of a
yeah,
small crowd.
yeah.
We don't have the third part of harmony, but you don't miss it much because they
No.
sound very strong together.
Right. I thought they really let it rip. And it was interesting because that bass sound, and it sounds like he's playing flat round strings, but it
Mhm.
almost sounds like one of those six-string Fender basses
Okay.
that the country guys played, because it
Mhm.
has that quality to it. I wanted someone to educate me on it, like what was he actually playing? It's an interesting sound to it. Anyway, I liked the sound he was getting out of his instrument. So, but I thought it was good. I thought it was another highlight for the album.
Definitely.
So
I have, yeah, everything I have, I think are highlights are all the ones that I'm really speaking highly of. And
yeah,
I have asterisks next to all of them. This is the last one I have an asterisk next to. We going into the last track. Every
right.
night and every day. I'm not sure who recorded this originally. I looked it up.
I'll I'll tell you. I
Okay.
researched it. I found well, it was written by a guy named Don Roby, and
Okay.
I found a version by Magic Sam in the '60s.
Oh, nice.
Magic, yeah, and then I also found another version. It was a later version. It was James Cotton, the harmonica player, did it.
Okay.
Magic Sam's version is really cool. So it's that early '60s blues kind of stuff that everybody should listen to and like. But it was good. So I didn't know this song. I mean, I consider myself a student of this kind of music, and I didn't know it. So I thought it was an interesting choice. It was good. It was interesting in the sense that I don't think anybody knew the song in the crowd. I mean, it was just those two knew it.
Hmm.
So it was interesting. It was like where it's like, hey, here's our biggest hit. We're gonna end the night on it. But listening to it now on CDs, streaming years later, yeah, it's kind of cool, inspired number.
Yeah, just and it's just a very upbeat 12 bar piano blues.
Yeah, blues. Yeah, exactly. So yeah.
So, is would you like to go through the tracks? Like anything else you'd like to add?
I've been jumping in when you were. I thought I was
Right.
better that way. Only make a note. CC Rider, you hit it all. I like that song. I like the piano sound he was getting on that, even though it's probably some sort of synth. And the Lionel Richie song, we were talking about it. I just thought that was I found it to be an album highlight because I just found out like they took this odd Lionel Richie song. I thought they did something interesting with it. They put their stamp on it. I think that um, like the lyrics jumped out for me a little more than the Lionel Richie version of it. So there's something to it that these guys felt inspired by the lyrics, I thought. And I just thought it was a great version. And um, yeah, no, I think the only one I didn't comment on was Whistle Stop, but you hit it. I mean, that's another good song, and I think it was another highlight for the album. He made the comment when he was talking about the sound issues, roll off the bass, less is more, that kind of
Yes,
stuff. So, which was
exactly.
good. But yeah, I mean, it's a to me, this is a quick listen. It's an easy listen too. So even though it's raw, even though there's problems, the mic feedback and stuff, it's an easy listen for me. So it's one of those things you just put on, and whether you're doing work, you have it in background, or I don't know if I'd put this. Maybe I would put it on at a party. That's your entertainment. I don't know if I'd do that, but whatever. I
I
just
think
thought it's a cool thing.
I think it would depend on the crowd at your party.
Yeah, exactly. Right, right. No one's gonna. I mean, no one's gonna mistake this for Back in Black. You know what I mean?
Right, right, right.
So it's for what it is, I think it's kind of cool.
How would you rank this 1 to 10 on a scale 1 to 10?
I was trying to think about this. Here's what I'm going to say about it. It's one of the better 7.5 albums you're ever going to hear.
Okay.
Okay. I'm not going to listen to this. I'm not going to, it's not going to replace Rockin' the Fillmore or the Mott Live album
Yeah.
or Unleashed in the East. But it's a good, or the Allman Brothers or, that kind of stuff. But it's a good, fun thing. to think that it was a bootleg and that it wasn't even intended to be released, it's kind of cool. The Scranton connection, I love. It's an album that, when I rate something, anything that's a seven, I think someone should listen to and consider buying. Okay. Anything eight and higher, I'd be like, yeah, you got to own it. You got to listen to it and own it. Okay. 7.5 is like, you should definitely listen to it and you may want to consider buying it. I think it's pretty cool. How about you?
I
Where's the fall for you?
seven. I would,
Oh, okay.
yeah, I would rank it as seven because for something that was a bootleg, it's still with all the warts and all, it's still recorded quite well,
It
and
is.
it's very intimate. I love intimate albums,
Hmm.
and I think a lot of these versions of the band songs and She Knows, which I didn't know until now. I think these are very, very cool. And what they did with My Love is it's pretty interesting. I even know I'm not high on the vocals, but I still
Yeah.
think it's pretty cool. Yeah, they sound like they're really enjoying themselves. It doesn't feel like a job. It's not like they're
No.
going through the motions.
Right.
Playing to this small crowd that
Hmm.
is really is probably really deep into their music, and they're feeding off that energy, and they put on an inspired performance. So I give it a seven.
It's one of those albums. If you want to learn how to sing harmony vocals, you want to learn how to give a performance, and it's a great learning tool as well. So it's
Yes.
that raw, but you can here's what he's doing with the harmony here. How they're singing that, the melody, how they break down like we were talking about some of these songs that had band arrangements and B3s and all their instruments, and they pare it down to this format with a duo. It's kind of cool. You can learn a lot from it too. So I think I want to go out and listen more to that album I told you about, the Live at the Horseman Saloon, and see how it compares with the full band and a harmonica player, 20 some tracks. A lot of the tracks that are on here are on that album, but
Hmm.
that would be something I want to check out next and see. So yeah, and it reminds me too, it's like Richard Manuel was a really talented guy, man. Even with the ragged voice, man, that guy was talented. And Danko was no slouch. Danko was a good musician and a great voice. And both of them left us way too soon. It's ridiculous. So
Richard left us less than 3 months after this recording.
I saw that. I noticed too, I didn't realize this, and you think about it now, the he passed away. The band had just played a gig at a club.
Hmm.
So
Right.
they're playing clubs. Like, should that band have been in theaters and like arenas? Like, I can't believe that they were a club band, even if without Robbie Robertson. Like, okay, but the rest of them were there. Like, now looking back, I find that just a few 10 years earlier was the last waltz. I find that hard to believe that they were a
Yes.
club act at that point. I think it's one of those things too. If they had stuck it out and everybody remained healthy, which was a problem, I think probably around the late '80s, early '90s, they would have been back playing to really, really large crowds, because everything comes around. You know what I mean?
It did. Like in the late 80s, it seemed like a lot of the bands that were big in
Yeah.
the 70s were making that comeback in the
Yeah.
late 80s, early 90s. And they would have
Right.
fit right in, just like
Right.
Allman Brothers came back, Little Feat came back, Eric Clapton started selling a lot of records again. Steve Winwood, same thing.
CSN did. I remember they had a
Yes.
comeback. Like all those bands, they just had to hang in there. But Manuel dies, and they did hang in there, and they had some albums out. But I think without Robertson and Manuel, I think a lot of the wind was out of the sails. So
Yes, because you had the main writer and then
right.
Manuel, who was writing a lot early on.
Right. And
But
he's the main voice too. I mean, his voice
that's
is
true.
just, you can't replace that vocal. You just can't do it. I mean, it's singular. So, but yeah, no, it's good. Yeah. And hey, it was at O'Toole's in Scranton. It's absurd. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, I'm hoping that if anybody was there or knows anything about it or O'Toole's, put it in the comments when you see John's when he posts this, because I'd like to know more about it. And I have to inquire with some people to see if they know anything about it. I don't remember this at the time. I don't remember it being advertised. I remember nothing about it. I remember this December of 85. I would have just gotten my driver's license. I had a lot going on then. There was a lot of things that there was things that month even that was crazy. So I might not have been paying attention, but yeah, cool thing.
And this was the second set of the night. I was able to find the first set on
You
Sunday
were?
FM, but they had it listed
Really?
under December 1, 1985, and I think that's a misprint.
No kidding. So you found this the first set.
Here
That's
it is.
amazing.
The Rumor, which was on
Okay.
Stage Fright.
Yeah.
Shape I'm In, I believe that was on Stage Fright too.
Uh-huh.
It Makes No Difference, which is the only song they repeat.
Yep. Right.
We got Across the Great Divide from
Okay.
the debut.
Mm-hmm.
Stage Fright from Stage Fright. You Don't Know Me, I'm not sure which version that is.
Mm-hmm.
Java Blues was originally, I don't, oh, I'm not sure if Rick wrote this, but he did
Mm-hmm.
record this on his self-titled debut.
Okay.
We have I Shall Be Released,
Okay.
which was on the debut,
Yeah.
and Bob Dylan wrote that.
Right.
And then Mystery Train,
Oh,
which
wow.
is an old song that they
Yeah.
played on the last waltz. And
Yeah.
I'm gathering they might have played this before they became known as the band. Maybe they were playing this when they were with Ronnie Hawkins. I'm just
Right. Yeah. The Hawks. Right. Exactly. Right. That's an interesting set too. I think, well, I'd love to hear that. I'd like to hear that as well. But
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
both cool sets. Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Nick, thank you so much for not only joining me today, but introducing me to this album.
Oh, good. Yeah, I'm happy to, John. It was fun, and yeah, this is one of those albums you wouldn't think of talking about it on YouTube video, but yeah, I'm glad we did.
I am too. What do you have lined up on the other YouTube channels you're a part of? As I mentioned before, Nick and I met on the Contrarians, and we have discussed music on a lot of other channels.
Well, later on this evening, I'll be live with Grant's Rock Warehouse when we talk about Mott the Hoople. Any chance to talk about Mott, I'm there. So I'm a Mott fan, and I'll talk about. We're going to talk about the Hoople and Mott live. Um, Playing some music lately. That's the only other thing. Let me pitch my or let me plug my friend's amp company, Ugly Amps,
Nice.
uglyamps.com. If you want a good old school tube type guitar amp, he's the guy to see. And he's got all sorts of interesting amps that are just custom made without custom prices. So yeah, so we've been playing some music behind the scenes. Might be doing a little bit of recording. So I don't
Nice.
want to say too much about it, but it's giving me great joy and enthusiasm the last few months. So it's been pretty exciting.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to hearing it.
Yeah. How about you? What do you have coming up?
Well, I will be recording a show an hour after this, but it's not going to come out tonight. But
Okay.
we're doing on the Contrarians, we're doing an album war Black Sabbath. Technical Ecstasy from 1976 against Never Say Die from 1978. When this was proposed, I'm like, oh, I got opinions. I got to join this band. I,
Yeah.
I'm also going to have some more shows here on John the Music Nut. Definitely going to have some more live cut shows. I've been reaching out to a bunch of us,
Good.
and I'm getting a lot of interest and a lot of albums that don't get enough love or recognition have been suggested. So keep your eyes out for that in the near
Good.
future. I'll probably be doing a an album ranking on Metallica pretty soon. Next few days, I'll be putting that out. And I'm probably going to do an album review on the latest Jason Isbell's studio album, which is an acoustic album called Foxes in the Snow. So
Okay.
yeah, so that's tentatively what's coming up on my channel. The live cut stuff is definite. I'm just trying to figure out who I'm gonna put where.
Yeah. Right. Right.
So, but yeah, but it'll be plenty to digest.
Yeah.
Nick, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Anytime.
All right. And thank you all for watching. Do what you love, and I'll talk to you soon.